But let's move into the next topic. We're going to be talking about potential busts. We might have picked too many prospects from the combine, but oh well,
Yep.
You got an hour and 15-minute podcast segment. That's what we love to do for you guys. If you want to help support us, check out patreon.com/mostvaluedpodcast. That's where you can help support us and upgrade the equipment that we're using so we provide better content for you. We might still be idiots. We might still get bad takes, but it will look nicer. And it will sound nicer. So that's the fun part.
You'll enjoy it more.
Yep. Anyways, let's move now to potential busts. We are cutting the list of players that we were going to mention to 4. Dave will have 2. I will have 2. Hopefully this is like a 30-minute segment because we can't go over an hour again. Dave, why don't you start us off, though?
Sure. My hot take number 1 for who might be a bust is DeAndre Hunter. I'm going with the safest player in the draft. Might be a bust. And some people out there are like, how can the safest player be a bust? Because you're taking him top 5. I think that's insane. I think that swinging for the fences on a top 5 pick on someone who can't create their own shot is a massive concern for me. There are guys who are, role players in the NBA. You don't want to be the guy who took a role player with a top 5 pick. And that is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, he could go 4 through 7, which scares me a lot because I just don't know what the value is of taking someone who is not going to be your first best player, not going to be your second best player, not going to be your third best player, but might be your fourth best player out there as a top 7 pick in a draft. That, to me, screams reach. And that is why I'm going, he might be a bust because we're putting the expectations of being a top pick in the draft on someone who I'm seeing top end out as your fourth best player who is just a wing defender, 3-point shooter, a 3-and-D wing, That does not scream great value to me.
Yeah, I think the big thing with Hunter that will worry people is the fact that he is safe and he's not flashy. I don't worry about that, though, because I think that he can slash, and he might not create his own shot of, going one-on-one ISO and being able to attack and take guys that are posting up guys and hitting a turnaround fadeaway jumper. I don't think that's going to happen at all. But I still think he can be very valuable out there offensively. And I think that a big thing, too, is we talk so much about how valuable defense is nowadays. And he can guard, from the perimeter, mid-range, and inside. He can do it all. And I really love what he can bring to a team.
He can do it all in college. I want to asterisk that because, again, you're going up against NBA-level talent. You might not be able to do it all at the NBA level. Right now, where he measures out, very good. But I still have that question of, is he a 3 or 4 at the NBA level? And as a 4, is he going to get bodied down low? As a 3, is he quick enough to keep up with guys? So, it's not written in stone. Mm-hmm. He does have excellent defense, but a lot of that is also helped out by the fact that his team plays excellent defense.
I think, though, I've seen enough tape of where him going one-on-one is clearly, shows enough. I think we've seen enough out of him where, his one-on-one defense has really shined through. I think that, having those concerns that he might just be a role player is valid. When I'm having the Bulls take him at 5 or wherever I'm taking him when we're not simming the lottery.
Driving me nuts.
I think of him as a role player providing versatility. And yes, he might be a 3 or a 4, but if he is a 4, I don't see the need for him to then create a shot. So that kind of need or that worry for you then goes away because he turns into a pick and pop player. Or a guy that just works off ball, moves the ball around, and then obviously, if he's standing in the corner, he's open, they'll pass him the ball. I also think he's pretty good, in transition. He's got a good body. He can use it. He can, draw contact, and he can lay the ball in. I don't think he's ever going to be, an explosive athlete. He'll throw down some dunks every now and then. He's not going to be like, LeBron out there throwing down tomahawk dunks. But I think that he's such an all-around player that can help a team, especially like Chicago, that's going for a playoff, run soon. Or let's say New Orleans, if they weirdly keep Anthony Davis, he can help them out solidify that team. He might not be that home run swing like a Cam Reddish, but god damn it, he's going to play in the league for 10 years. And that's the thing that I like about DeAndre Hunter. And he's also taken over games at times. You saw that Texas Tech game, and he was going up against a better defensive team, at least, metric-wise, than Virginia was. And he dominated that game. He absolutely dominated that game. He looked quicker than all those guys. He was faster. He was bigger. He was stronger than those guys. So I think athletically we might be underrating him just a little bit. Perhaps. I think that defensively, one-on-one, he will be fine in the NBA.
All right. And again, these are not, I'm slapping a Dave sticker guarantee this guy's a bust. I just think that he can be a bust. It's like when you look back at old draft classes and you're like, I mean, that guy's an okay player, but like, how to get taken there? And when you look at the guys behind him, it's one of those situations like, wow, they passed up on them. The first one that comes to my head is like the 2012 draft. Not the first one. We actually had a fun game before this, and we kind of ran through a couple of years of the draft. But in 2012, you look at that class, and it's like Dame was taken at 6, great. Harrison Barnes at 7, and then Terrence Ross at 8. How good do you feel about taking Terrence Ross at the 8th pick? Terrence Ross is the offensive supernova, as I've dubbed him, for this postseason. And I love that man, and he can stroke it from 3, and his career has gone pretty well, honestly. But he's a role player. He's not the best player. He's not any of that above. He's a great bench player. He can move the ball. He can shoot from 3. And I think that's, I feel like that's a reach still as the 8th pick, but you don't know the quality of the draft class. Maybe that is your best available option rather than taking a stab at the dark. If it's me, you don't win a championship taking role players. You win a championship by getting the star. Where do you get the star? Top of the draft. Mm-hmm. So I'm rolling the dice 10 times out of 10 at the top of a draft.
What about the players, at least the teams that already have the stars? Like, obviously, New York, they don't have the star.
They literally don't have anyone.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. For sure. And they...
Sorry, I don't want to jump on you.
They might be able to sign players, but right now they don't have a star. And I'm not saying the New York Knicks should be drafting DeAndre Hunter. That's not what I'm saying. Cleveland, they don't have a star yet. Colin Sexton had a very good rookie year. He's not a star yet. Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, they have star potential, but they're not stars yet. Chicago... developing stars, Zach LaVine,
very similar.
Markkanen.
Yeah.
I think they're closer, and that's why I look, hey, maybe they could. Atlanta, Trae Young, very close to being a star, and I think that he has that star potential. So if Atlanta went with him, I wouldn't shake my fist at that. Like, I think that he'd be a very good fit next to Atlanta. In Atlanta, you can move John Collins to the 5. You can have DeAndre Hunter play the 4. I think that'd be a very interesting fit. And even Minnesota, they already have a star on Karl-Anthony Towns. You look at Memphis. Memphis would be an iffy pick because I don't think they have a star yet. But what if Boston ends up getting that pick? They can, right?
Boston can get Memphis pick if anyone jumps above them. So if that Memphis pick falls to 9, it is Boston's.
Okay, so if Boston takes him at 9, that would be a very smart pick because he's automatically going to step in and help that team. I think that there are places that he could fit, even Washington. Like Washington already has Bradley Beal. That's a star. When John Wall comes back and if he is healthy and he's playing like John Wall used to play, that's a star. There are the places that he fits. He's not a star himself, but he's going to make your stars better. He's going to help your team. He's going to be a consistent guy that gives you 30 minutes every single night. He might not be flashy, and I understand that. And the value that you're saying, him being picked at, if he's top 5, that's what would make him a bust. But if he's going 15...
If he's going 15, that's fine.
I think 100%. That's a steal.
Yeah.
So, I think he has a very volatile range that could really depend. But if he's playing 10 years in the league, no one's really going to bat an eye. I think that's the biggest thing.
If he has, a Trevor Ariza-style career.
Yeah. No one's really going to care that you took him 5th. Because you could have taken Cam Reddish, who potentially might even be a bigger bust. Well, so let's get into him.
Yeah.
Cam Reddish. What are his expectations? Really, we were asking this question earlier. What are his expectations in the NBA? Because can he bust if he has such low expectations? So what are you looking for with Cam Reddish? Because obviously I have him lower on my big board than DeAndre Hunter because I just feel safer taking DeAndre Hunter. But clearly this is a guy that was ranked higher in recruiting classes. Hunter wasn't really highly recruited. Cam Reddish was. What are we looking at with Cam Reddish when it comes to expectations as an NBA pro?
We're looking at someone who has a good physical body, who has all of the tools to be an NBA level wing player, but couldn't piece it all together consistently in college. He had a disappointing season. Obviously, he was the 3rd man on a loaded Duke team, and as a role player, he was the best shooter, which unfortunately he wasn't a good shooter, but he was the best available option to be their 3-and-D wing out there. Defensively, he was locked in. Offensively, he has a lot of room to grow. His shot's not terribly broken, but it is not consistent. And I think that's why you see when he hits that groove, it's kind of fun to watch him because his shot has changed throughout the whole year, but not for the better. It's just several variations, tweaks he's doing to it. So I know he's trying to change his game, but he hasn't found whatever it is that he's happy to stick with. So I look at him as someone who is a raw template. You've got a 6'9" wing with good athleticism, good defense. When he puts out effort, he's good in transition, and he's played along stars already, but I wonder what he can do on his own. And I think there's just the upside of him being younger, of being a better prospect, and having that upper end potential to be a number one on a team, like we saw him in high school, and like we got to see out of him in a very few games throughout his college career.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of great points. I just wonder, has he been killed too much where, his confidence is nothing? That's why I keep saying, give him to Cleveland, because Cleveland just can let him play and he can find what makes him confident.
No, it's fair.
Confident. And that's where I look at him, and it's like, we were looking at old draft classes, like you were saying. You brought up Terrence Ross and Al-Farouq Amino for DeAndre Hunter. With Cam Reddish, is he a Xavier Henry, where highly ranked prospect was Xavier was the 6th ranked prospect in his recruiting class. Cam Reddish was top 3, and they did not produce. And then they went into the NBA. Xavier was taken 11th overall, and you love Xavier Henry.
He got struck down by injuries, though.
Yeah, but with Cam Reddish, at least let's hope he doesn't have these injuries and he can actually go out and prove himself. They had very similar stats when it came to college, and Xavier even had better stats for coming out of college. So I wonder if Cam's just been killed so much confidence-wise that he might never be able to be that secondary ball handler. He might never be able to be that go-to scorer.
Yeah, I mean, when your percentages are so low in college, I wonder how many guys can bounce back from that, and is that really just where he's at? We talk about the volume of shots finds its true value. And I wonder if, dude, you've jacked up enough shots where I wonder if you are a career, 35% shooter at times. It's like, I don't know. The shot selection sort of says one thing, the volume says another. So I want to believe that you could be a better player. But, with that much volume and that much game tape of you, this might be who you are. Mm-hmm. So it's a high risk move to take him. But at the same time, the floor is the basement. You're getting a guy who doesn't deserve to, have starting minutes, a guy who should be in the G League maybe, to bounce back and up and down, because I don't know if he's good enough to play on the NBA roster for some of these teams. Maybe not the worst of the worst at the top of this draft, but obviously as he gets further down, I don't know that I would pass up on the potential. And that's my problem. I'm a junkie for the potential. Give me the guy who has that top end that is, hey, you're a top 5 prospect in your class for a reason. Can you get back to the level of dominance, or at least somewhere resembling that?
Mm-hmm. I agree that being dominant is going to just be
that's a long ask.
It's a long ask, but looking at guys that were higher recruits like a Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday was a second-ranked recruiting second-ranked recruit in the 2008 recruiting class, and he went to UCLA. 8.5 points, 3.7 assists, 3.8 rebounds, 1.6 steals, shot 45% from the field and 30% from 3 and 72.6% from the line.
Yeah.
And Drew wasn't, step into the league and, blew up right away. Had 8 points his first year, 44% from the field, 39% from 3, which was a huge uptick.
Very encouraging.
And then 75% from the line. But a big thing with him was he went to Philly.
Yeah.
And he got 24 minutes per game right away. And, he was playing behind Allen Iverson. He was playing behind Lou Williams was on that team. And he had a lot of veteran help, like Andre Iguodala as well, Elton Brand, Samuel Dalembert.
I remember that Philly team. Yeah. I hated that Philly team.
That Philly team did not beat the Bulls that year.
No.
That was the 27-55 Philly team in 2009-2010. The next year is when they 2 years from then.
Yeah.
They ended up beating the Chicago Bulls. But that's when Drew started taking over. Really, Drew was the second leading scorer on that team behind Lou Williams, and he was 21 at that age. And I think the biggest thing that he was able to do was he was able to play around veterans and he was able to grow. And that's why I again look right back to Cleveland. This is a team with guys that have been in NBA championships. They've played with stars like LeBron, and he's going to have the ability to take time, and he's going to be able to take shots, and he's going to be able to play next to Kevin Love. He's going to be able to play next to Larry Nance Jr. He's going to be able to play next to Colin Sexton. I look at Cam Reddish, and I think a big thing about him is just the fit is going to be huge for him.
Yeah.
And if he goes to the wrong place, he's going to get murdered, and that place is Atlanta. And I disagree with Ricky. I think he'd get murdered in Atlanta. He won't have the ball in his hands enough. He's going to get outshined by Trae Young, and I think that if he goes there, he's not going to have enough ability to make mistakes because this Atlanta team has the possibility of being pretty good.
Are you putting them in the spooky category?
They're spooky.
Oh, shit.
They're very spooky. And I worry about his fit with Atlanta.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if he wins out on minutes over like Taurean Prince even. Taurean's been consistent for them. And that's the thing is like as a 3 out there, pretty good. I don't know if he splits time with Herter, who's been starting for them.
Well, that's one thing is some Atlanta fan was appalled that I would bench Kevin Herter for Cam Reddish. So
yeah, look, Atlanta can do whatever they want with their lineup because, to be fair, like they're not expected to compete. They're still going to win games because Trae Young's amazing. John Collins is a monster in the low post. So I think they've got a lot of room for creativity and experimentation on that end. But I don't know. I'm not quite as down on that fit as you are.
Yeah. All right, let's move to the next one. You can take this guy.
Yeah, Jarrett Culver.
Yeah. Just let's bash on the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, look, the guy's a bum. He choked in his biggest games. I love Jarrett Culver. I think he is extremely talented, but at the same time, I wonder about his game fitting into the NBA style. You're a 2-guard who doesn't have an elite first step. You drive to the hoop as your primary move, try to create contact. You can get to the line decently well, but you're not a good enough pull-up shooter. You're not a good enough three-point shooter. Efficiency is king these days. Is it going to take its toll that he is basically a worse version of, Karis LeVert, Jimmy Butler, as far as like a prototypical style of play? And yes, defensively, you are fantastic and you're giving tons of effort, but offensively, is there room for you to grow? If the ball is taken out of your hands, I get it. You were given the rights to create this year. When the ball's out of your hands, can you still be a facilitator? Can you be a catch and shoot kind of a player? Like, is that in your game, or is that completely asking asking too much growth out of you in the next couple of years? Because you're not the youngest guy in this draft. You're not, you're a second-year player already. So
well, and the one thing too that I think is encouraging, at least for those questions, is the fact that Jarrett Culver did grow.
He did
in from his freshman year to his sophomore year. 11.2 points per game to 18.5. 45.5% from the field to 46. His 3% percent went down, 38.2 to 30. His free throw, though, did increase 64.8 to 70.7. His rebounds went up, assists went up, steals went up, blocks stayed the same. I just worry that he's not an elite three-point shooter. Like you were saying, and if he's a 2-guard that can't shoot.
How many attempts per game did he take this year?
4.2. And that's something that I was going to bring up is one thing that Cam Reddish does have in his size is that he was taking like 7 a game. And he was a high-volume shooter.
Yeah.
Was not a very good, efficient shooter. But still, 34% is better than Jarrett Culver, and that's a very bright sign for Cam Reddish. The fact that he was able to show that on the outside, and with his size and potential, that is something that is the reason why he's going to be drafted so high. But with Culver, he has that defense, and he might have that size as well. We're saying that he might clock in at 6'7" at the combine.
Yeah.
But is he just a guy that is going to be playing at the 2 spot, but isn't that great of a 3-point shooter that's going to hurt you? And hey, maybe if he's wide open, those will go in. But then if he starts to be tightly guarded, like you're saying, is he going to then create turnovers because he's not able to create enough space to get away from these defenders, and he's just going to create turnovers? So that's the biggest thing offensively that I worry about with him, because I think he's going to be big enough.
Yeah.
I think defensively he's going to have the wingspan to guard guys, and I think that he's going to be strong enough to get around screens.
Yeah.
But offensively, what will he be? And that's the biggest the biggest question that I will have for him. If he's not able to find his spot offensively, then he's just going to turn to a role player. And he's just going to turn to a defensive guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he just turns to Andre Roberson. I don't know. I think he's more talented than Andre Roberson offensively. But, worst case scenario, he becomes Andre Roberson. And maybe even worse of a defender.
No, I mean, there's got to be somewhere between, that.
I just thought the first guy who couldn't shoot and, plays defense.
No, there's
Roberson's the greatest example of that.
I was going to say, yeah, it's, God.
KCP?
We had KCP marked there, but KCP's a much better shooter. I mean, that's no doubt. So,
that's true.
Culver, to me, it's just the question, like you said, goes back to the shooting. Stanley Johnson didn't have the creativity with the ball in his hands. He wasn't able to set up offensive sets, run them, facilitate. I go back and I wonder, assume he is a limited offensive player. I could see him, worst case scenario, like kind of running the second unit as a 6-man, being able to provide, defense and switch into an offense as a small ball lineup, a la Hamptons 5, Andre Iguodala role. I think Iggy was obviously a much better player, but I wonder if he could find a similar role to that, where if he isn't able to grow his offensive game continually and get consistent at a 3-point level, best case scenario, you can run a second unit, no problem, and you can come in and situationally help close out games defensively on other teams' ones.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is we don't know what's between the ears of these kids. And
Yeah.
if Culver does have that, mindset to become great, and he puts in the work, he definitely can become.
It's a real shame, too, that we didn't get to see Zaire Smith play this year, because I think that would have almost set a bar for, we love the defense from Texas Tech, and Zaire led that team last year. Jarrett was obviously a role player, and now Jarrett stepped up and became the guy on that team. And I think that, had Zaire had success and shown elite defensive capabilities out there, that would have been a great measuring bar for Jarrett Culver to go up against, because Zaire was another guy with an offensive game where it's like the dude's the size of a 2, but he plays like a 4, It's just a little bit, it's apples and oranges, but at the same time, it at least gives you that level of context of these guys played or with each other. We can kind of set the bar.
Yeah, I think one thing, though, that Zaire shows me is that he's much quicker and he's much more athletic.
Yeah.
Zaire had a great bounce on him, and he showed that too in the NBA.
And at the Combine. If you want to check out Combine takes.
It's true.
Check out our last segment.
Had one of the highest combines. So the vertical leap. So, hey, maybe Culver comes out and he shows that he's a great athlete at the Combine. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Let's do the final guy, and that's Rui Hachimura from...
That's for you, Ricky.
From Gonzaga. I hate him. I don't hate him. That's too much.
I think you hate the idea of him being a top player in this class,
I think he's extremely overrated. And I think that if he goes too high, a la lottery.
Yeah? Well, anywhere in the lottery.
Extreme bust. Because, at least extreme bust potential. Because these are guys with potential bust.
Okay.
I look at him, and I don't know what position he's going to play. If he plays the 3, I don't think he has the quickness to be a slasher. He has the body and strength to be a slasher, but I don't know if he has the size to be a slasher. Or, sorry, the speed to be a slasher.
Okay.
And I don't know if he has the creativity to then pass out of when he's in trouble slashing. There's a lot of times where he makes mental mistakes when he gets pressured, where he turns the ball over. Also, when he gets in those positions, he fires up bad shots that he's not balanced when he's taking them. He's not putting all of his weight and force into those shots. He's not driving and finishing his shots. There's a lot of times where he comes up short because he just doesn't know how much power to put behind it. And I think as well, when we're looking at perimeter, if let's say he's a 4, I don't think he's a deadly enough shooter to be a stretch 4. And even then, I don't think he's a good enough creator on his own to be a scorer offensively. Defensively, he might be very intriguing because it's not really mental mistakes. You might foul some guys, but that's forgivable.
He's got a good wingspan.
He's got a good wingspan. I think that he'll be able to block shots and disrupt. And in transition, he's going to be great.
Yeah.
But I worry when he actually has a guy in his face, will he be able to score? And will he not turn the ball over? I think turnovers are going to be a huge, huge thing with Hachimura. That extremely worries me. If he's going 20 or 19 to the Spurs, I think that'd be a fine fit. And they could really teach him up and really show him what to do in certain situations.
Yeah.
But if he goes to a team, let's say Miami, where they need you to produce right away, I don't think it's going to work out well enough. Because this is just such a very disciplined team. And if you're going out there and you're not disciplined, and hey, maybe they can coach him up. I think that he might be a guy that goes to the G League, maybe never gains his confidence, and really flops.
Wow.
Well, I'm saying goes to the G League. Goes to the G League because they want guys who can contribute on that team.
Yeah. No, this is the land of the what ifs right now. He had so much college production that I'm not sure how you can be that low on someone who was able to produce in college as well as he was.
Well, because he was going up against WCC competition.
Okay.
And I specifically go back to the last game that he played. I forget who he played. Florida State? No. What was the last college game he played?
Yeah, right. I know that.
I thought you were looking at stats. That's what I was asking.
No.
The last game he played, last 2 minutes, consistent errors, Texas Tech. consistent errors just back and forth. There was
Totally was.
a ton of times where, like the whole thing where he's just not driving on his shots came up. He was making bad mistakes, turning the ball over. I think that showed that when you have smart players going up against him, that they can force him to make mistakes. And I think as well, if he's going up, and Texas Tech wasn't crazy athletic, if he's going up against great supreme athletes, I think they'll be quick enough to stop his dribble drive. And then, obviously you have to become creative. And I don't know if he's creative enough to really attack and become that monster.
Right.
Because he's got the body to be a monster without a doubt.
I mean, that's the thing you have to think about, though, with him is he may be 21, but as far as his basketball game is still growing. And I think that's the encouraging part of him. While he is one of the older people in this draft class, he technically has some of the better potential because we haven't, we believe we haven't seen the best out of him yet. I think his game is still growing. I think there's still a lot of the game he can work on and get better at. And, I don't believe he ever becomes a dead-eye three-point shooter, but if he can hit, one a game from 33% or something like that, then we're in business. You at least give them something to be concerned about because right now, I know he's shooting 41%, but that's, fool's gold pretty much. And that's just the thing that kills me. Is I look at him and I go, incredibly talented, still learning the game. Yes, level competition's a great question, Sean. Turnovers, for sure. But when I watch him play, I'm like, the dude's able to get to the hoop at will at times. And he gets to the foul line. He shoots well enough at the foul line. Obviously, it could be better. Only 74%, but still in college, basically you're above that magical 70% line, and people just can kind of brush it along and be like, all right, good enough. So I think continue to work on his shooting, whether it's free throw and outside. And then you have someone who has, elite level wingspan, good athleticism. I'm hoping he does find a role. I also don't know if he's going to be a 3 or 4 in the NBA. That's Ricky sold me on the 3 idea, but then I watched him play more, and I'm like, you're not quick enough to be a 3.
And I don't think he is creative enough to be a 3. I don't think he would be able to go up against an NBA-level defender and be able to use his dribble drive to create space between him and his defender and score.
Why are we singing?
I don't know. You started doing it, and I'm really tired.
But
yeah, I just think that Hachimura just won't be able to be that next level offensive god that people think he has that potential. I'm not saying he might not be bad. I just think that if that is we're talking about potential bust. I think that
is
might
right
be
there.
a
He's
bust
a player who produced really well in college, and there's a chance if he doesn't land well and can't find his true role that he struggles.
Let us know the guys that you think are potential busts in the NBA draft. Do you agree with the 4 that we picked? Who else is out there? We wrote down Kobe White, maybe. We wrote down Kevin Porter Jr., maybe. We wrote down Romeo Langford, maybe. We also wrote down Kabinjale because Dave hates him. He doesn't actually hate him. We don't ever hate people.
No.
But it was just a joke.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, those are some of the guys that we throw out there. Let us know who you think are potential busts in the 2019 NBA draft.